They say love makes you blind. But betrayal? That opens your eyes in the cruelest way possible. It was a Friday evening when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I was halfway through a glass of wine, trying to unwind after a long week at the office. The projects had been piling up, deadlines were breathing down my neck, and all I wanted was some peace. But when I opened that door, peace was the last thing I found. Standing there, trembling in the dim porch light, was my best friend Emma. Her mascara was smeared down her cheeks, her eyes red and swollen. Her dress, the beautiful pale blue one she'd bought for her engagement party just weeks ago, was wrinkled and stained with what looked like wine. Her hands were shaking as she clutched her phone like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. I didn't even have to ask. The look on her face told me everything. Something terrible had happened, something that shattered her world. I pulled her inside immediately, wrapping my arms around her as she collapsed into sobs against my shoulder. Her whole body was trembling. She couldn't even speak at first, just cried. Deep, painful sobs that came from somewhere buried so deep inside her that I felt my own heart breaking just listening to them. We sat on the couch. I held her hand, squeezed it tight, let her know she wasn't alone. After what felt like forever, she finally spoke. Her voice was hoarse, broken. It was about Daniel, her fiancé, the man she'd been planning to marry in less than 3 months. The man she'd loved for 4 years. The man who'd proposed to her on a beach at sunset, promising her forever. He'd been cheating on her, not just a one-time mistake. Not just a moment of weakness, he'd been seeing someone else for months. Someone from his office. A younger woman, barely out of college, who didn't know Emma existed. And the worst part? Emma had found out in the most humiliating way possible. She'd gone to surprise him at his apartment that evening. She'd planned this cute little dinner date, bought his favorite takeout, even wore lingerie under her dress because she wanted to make the night special. They'd been so busy with wedding planning that they hadn't spent quality time together in weeks. She missed him. She wanted to reconnect. But when she got there, she heard voices. Laughter, a woman's voice. Coming from his bedroom, her heart had stopped right there in the hallway. Her hands went numb. She told herself it was nothing. Maybe a coworker. Maybe his sister visiting. Anything but what her gut was screaming at her. But she knew. Deep down, she knew. She pushed the door open. And there he was, Daniel. Her Daniel, in bed with another woman. Tangled in sheets, half-dressed, looking at her with wide, guilty eyes like a child caught stealing cookies. Emma didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She just stood there, frozen, as her entire future crumbled in front of her. The wedding invitations they'd just sent out. The dress she'd spent months choosing. The honeymoon they'd booked to Greece. All of it turned to ash in that single moment. Daniel tried to explain, tried to apologize. Said it was a mistake. Said he loved Emma. Said the other woman meant nothing. But Emma didn't stay to listen. She turned around and walked out, got in her car, drove to my place, and now here she was, broken and lost, sitting on my couch, asking me the question that haunted her. Why wasn't she enough? I looked at my best friend, at this beautiful, intelligent, kind woman who deserved the world, and I felt rage. Pure, burning rage. Not just at Daniel, but at every man who thought they could treat women like options. Like backups. Like they were disposable. Emma had given him everything, her time, her trust, her heart, and he'd thrown it all away for what? A fling? A moment of excitement? No. This couldn't stand. This wasn't going to end with Emma crying herself to sleep every night while Daniel moved on like nothing happened. This wasn't going to be another story where the cheater got away with it. I held Emma's face in my hands and looked her straight in the eyes. I told her we were going to fix this, not by begging Daniel to come back. Not by forgiving him and pretending it never happened, but by teaching him a lesson he would never forget. A lesson that would make him realize exactly what he'd lost, and exactly what kind of man he really was. Emma looked at me with confusion mixed with hope. She didn't understand yet. But she would, because I had a plan. And it was going to change everything. The next morning, Emma woke up on my guest bed. Her eyes were still puffy, but she looked a little stronger, a little more present. The crying had exhausted her, but it had also released something. Now there was space for something else. Anger, determination. We sat at my kitchen table with coffee, and I explained everything. The plan was simple but brilliant. And it required both of us to play our parts perfectly. Daniel didn't know me well. We'd met a handful of times at parties, at dinners, brief hellos and small talk. He knew I was Emma's best friend, but we'd never really connected. We'd never spent time alone together. To him, I was just background noise in Emma's life. That was about to change. Here's what we were going to do. Emma was going to go completely silent. No calls. No texts. No showing up at his place. She was going to disappear from his life entirely. Let him wonder. Let him worry. Let him feel the absence. Meanwhile, I was going to reach out to him, not as Emma's friend seeking revenge. No, that would be too obvious. I was going to reach out as someone concerned. Someone who wanted to help. Someone who thought maybe, just maybe, there was a way to fix this mess. I was going to play the mediator, the bridge, the person who could bring them back together. But really, I was going to be his worst nightmare. The goal wasn't just to expose him. It was to let him expose himself, to give him enough rope to hang himself with, to let him show Emma, once and for all, exactly who he was, not the charming man who'd proposed on the beach, but the selfish, manipulative person hiding underneath. Emma was hesitant at first. She didn't want to play games. She just wanted to move on, forget he ever existed. But I reminded her of something important. If she just walked away now, Daniel would never learn. He'd tell himself it was Emma's fault, that she overreacted, that she was too emotional. He'd paint himself as the victim and move on to hurt someone else. But if we did this right, he'd be forced to see himself clearly. And, more importantly, everyone else would see him too. Emma thought about it for a long moment. Then slowly, she nodded. She was in. That afternoon, I sent Daniel a text, kept it casual. Friendly, concerned. Hey Daniel, it's Sarah, Emma's friend. I know things are rough right now. I just wanted to check in on you. Emma's not doing well and I'm worried about both of you. Can we talk? He responded within minutes. Of course he did. He was probably desperate for any connection to Emma. Any way to fix what he'd broken. Hey Sarah. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. I messed up bad. I don't know what to do. Perfect. He was already playing the remorseful boyfriend. The guy who made a mistake and wanted to make it right. I'd heard this song before. Cheaters always sing it the same way. We agreed to meet for coffee the next day. Neutral ground. Public place. Just two people talking about a difficult situation. Emma helped me prepare. We went over every detail, what to say, what not to say, how to act. I needed to seem sympathetic but not too friendly, concerned but not judgmental. Someone he could trust, someone he could open up to. Because once he opened up, once he let his guard down, that's when we'd see the real Daniel. The next afternoon, I walked into the coffee shop and spotted him immediately. He was sitting in the corner, looking tired. His hair was messier than I remembered. His shirt wrinkled. He looked like he hadn't slept much. Good, he should be suffering. I sat down across from him and gave him a small, understanding smile, the kind of smile that says, I'm here to help, not judge. He started talking immediately, didn't even wait for me to order my coffee. The words just poured out of him like he'd been holding them in for days. He told me it was all a mistake. That the other woman meant nothing. That he loved Emma and only Emma. That he didn't know why he did it. That he was scared of commitment, scared of the wedding, scared of messing up his life. I listened, nodded, made sympathetic sounds. Let him believe I was on his side. Then I asked the question that mattered. Do you want Emma back? His eyes lit up. Like I'd just offered him a lifeline. Yes. More than anything, I know I don't deserve her, but I'll do whatever it takes. I leaned back, pretended to think. Let the silence stretch. Made him sweat a little. Emma's devastated, Daniel. She's not answering my calls about you. She doesn't want to hear your name. But I think with time, with the right approach, maybe there's a chance. He grabbed onto that hope like a drowning man grabbing a rope. What do I do? Tell me. I'll do anything. I smiled, not a warm smile. A calculating one, though he didn't notice. First, you need to show her you've changed. Words won't work anymore. You need actions. Proof. And you need to cut off that other woman completely. No contact. Block her. Delete her number. Emma needs to know she's gone. He nodded frantically. Already done. I ended it the night Emma found out. Told her it was over. Blocked her on everything. Interesting. So he'd already thrown the other woman away too. Typical. He didn't actually care about either of them. He just wanted what he couldn't have. Good. That's a start. But Emma's going to need more than that. She's going to need to see you suffer the way she suffered. She needs to see that you understand what you did. He looked confused. What do you mean? I leaned forward, lowered my voice like I was sharing a secret. Emma told me something before she stopped talking to me about you. She said the worst part wasn't the cheating. It was that you made her feel like she wasn't enough. Like she wasn't exciting enough, pretty enough, interesting enough. You made her question herself. His face fell. Guilt washed over his features. Maybe he actually had a conscience buried somewhere deep down. Or maybe he was just a good actor. I never meant to make her feel that way. She's perfect. She's everything. Then you need to prove it. Not to me, to her. And to everyone who knows what you did. That got his attention. His eyes widened slightly. What do you mean, everyone? I shrugged casually. Word travels, Daniel. Emma's family knows. Her friends know. People are talking. If you want any chance of fixing this, you need to own what you did. Publicly, completely. No excuses. He looked uncomfortable now. The idea of public humiliation clearly didn't appeal to him. But he was desperate, and desperate people do stupid things. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting you show everyone that you know you messed up. Make a gesture. Something big. Something that proves you're serious about changing. He thought about it. I could see the wheels turning in his head. He was calculating whether the humiliation was worth getting Emma back. Finally, he nodded. Okay. What should I do? I smiled. The trap was set. Now I just needed him to walk right into it. Over the next few days, I stayed in contact with Daniel. We texted regularly. I played my role perfectly. The supportive friend who was slowly warming up to him. The bridge between him and Emma. I fed him advice, told him what Emma supposedly wanted to hear. Suggested grand gestures, pushed him toward bigger and bigger displays of remorse. And he did everything I said, desperately. Pathetically, he sent flowers to Emma's work. Huge, expensive arrangements with cards begging for forgiveness. Emma threw them in the trash, but her coworkers saw. They talked. They judged. He posted a vague apology on social media, something about making mistakes and needing to be better. It was cowardly and unclear, but people connected the dots. His friends started commenting, asking what happened. He ignored them, but the damage was done. He even showed up at Emma's favorite coffee shop, the one she went to every morning, hoping to run into her. She didn't go anymore. She'd changed her routine completely. But other people saw him waiting there, looking desperate. More judgment. More gossip. Each move he made, I reported back to Emma. We'd sit together, going through the messages, the photos, the social media posts, and slowly, Emma's heartbreak turned into something else. Clarity. Strength. Anger that wasn't just pain, but power. She wasn't the broken girl who'd shown up at my door anymore. She was transforming into someone who knew her worth. Someone who realized she'd dodged a bullet. But we weren't done yet. The final phase of our plan was about to begin. And this is where things would get really interesting. I told Daniel that Emma had finally agreed to hear him out. That she wasn't ready to forgive him, but she was willing to listen. to give him one chance to explain himself face to face. He was ecstatic, thanked me 1,000 times. Asked where and when. I told him to meet at a restaurant. A nice one, the kind of place you go for important conversations. I gave him a date and time, told him Emma would be there. Told him this was his shot, don't mess it up. What I didn't tell him was that Emma wouldn't be there at all. I would be. But I wouldn't be alone. The night of the meeting, Emma and I got ready together. She wore a stunning black dress, the kind that made her look powerful, confident, untouchable. Her makeup was perfect, her hair styled beautifully. She looked like a woman who'd survived a war and come out stronger. I wore something similar. We could pass for sisters if you didn't look too closely. Same height. Same build. Similar features. Similar style. We'd spent days perfecting this. Practicing. Making sure every detail was right. Because tonight, we were going to pull off a switch that would expose Daniel in ways he couldn't imagine. We arrived at the restaurant early. Scoped it out. I'd chosen this place specifically because it had a certain layout. A main dining area visible from the entrance and a more private section in the back. Dim lighting. Intimate booths. Perfect for secrets. Perfect for mistakes. Emma took her position. She sat at a table in the back section, partially hidden from view, close enough to see and hear everything, but far enough away that Daniel wouldn't notice her right away. I sat at a table near the entrance. Visible. Obvious. Waiting. Daniel arrived right on time. He was dressed nicely. Suit jacket. Nice shirt. He'd even gotten a haircut. He looked nervous, clutching a small gift box. Probably jewelry. The classic cheater's apology. He scanned the restaurant, looking for Emma. His eyes passed over me briefly, then moved on. He didn't recognize me at first. Why would he? He'd only met me a handful of times, and I'd styled myself differently tonight. Softer. More like Emma. I stood up and waved slightly. Daniel, over here. He walked over, confused. Sarah, where's Emma? I smiled gently. She's running late. She asked me to meet you first. To make sure you were serious about this. He looked disappointed but nodded, sat down across from me. I'm serious, I swear. I just need to talk to her. I know, and you will. But first, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. He leaned forward, earnest. Anything. Do you really love her, or do you just hate that she walked away? He blinked. The question caught him off guard. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Thought for a moment. I love her. I know I messed up, but I love her. Then why did you cheat? I don't know. I was stupid. Scared. The wedding was coming up so fast, and I just panicked. So you solved your panic by sleeping with someone else? He flinched. When you say it like that, it sounds terrible. It is terrible, Daniel. He looked down at the table, ashamed. Or pretending to be. I let the silence hang for a moment. Then I leaned in closer, lowered my voice. Can I tell you a secret? He looked up, curious. What? Emma's not the only one who's been hurt by someone like you. I have too. I know what it's like to trust someone completely and have them destroy that trust. His expression softened. Sympathy, connection. Exactly what I wanted. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Most people don't, because I don't talk about it. But I understand Emma's pain, and I understand why she's so scared to forgive you. He nodded. I get it. I really do. Do you, though? Because forgiveness isn't just about saying sorry, it's about proving you've changed. About showing that you understand the depth of what you did. I know. And I want to prove it. Whatever it takes. I reached across the table and touched his hand gently, just for a moment. Testing. He didn't pull away. If anything, he leaned in slightly. Interesting. You're a good guy, Daniel. I can see that. You made a mistake, but you're trying to fix it. That matters. His eyes searched mine. Looking for validation, looking for forgiveness. Looking for something. You really think so? I do. And I think Emma will see it too, eventually. We talked for another 20 minutes. I kept the conversation light, supportive, built trust, built connection, all while Emma watched from the shadows, taking it all in. Then I made my move. Daniel, I know this is going to sound strange, but I need to tell you something. What is it? I've been thinking about this situation a lot. About Emma. About you. About relationships and mistakes and second chances. And I realized something. What? I looked at him with soft, vulnerable eyes. The kind of look that makes men feel needed, important. Sometimes the person we're looking for is right in front of us, and we don't see them because we're so focused on what we think we want. His brow furrowed slightly. I'm not sure I follow. I smiled, a little sad, a little hopeful. I think you do. And then I did something that would either confirm everything I suspected about Daniel or prove me completely wrong. I leaned forward and kissed him, softly, briefly, just enough. For half a second he froze, his brain trying to process what was happening. Then, instead of pulling away, instead of stopping me, instead of standing up and leaving, he kissed me back. He actually kissed me back. And that's when Emma stood up from her table in the back and walked toward us, her heels clicking on the floor. Each step measured, powerful. Daniel didn't notice at first. He was too caught up in the moment. Too caught up in the attention, the validation. But I saw her coming, and I pulled away from him slowly, my eyes looking past his shoulder. Emma, I whispered. He turned around so fast he nearly knocked over his water glass. And there she was, standing right behind him. Her arms crossed, her face a mask of cold fury. Daniel went completely white. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No words came out. What could he possibly say? He'd just been caught kissing his ex-fiancé's best friend, the same friend who'd been supposedly helping him win Emma back. Less than a week after begging for forgiveness, less than an hour after swearing he loved only Emma. Emma didn't yell, she didn't cry. She didn't make a scene. She just looked at him with the kind of disappointment that cuts deeper than anger ever could. You really haven't changed at all, have you? He tried to speak, tried to explain. Emma, wait, this isn't what it looks like. I don't know what happened. She kissed me. I didn't mean to. Don't. Emma held up her hand. Don't insult me by lying again. I saw everything. I've been watching this entire time. His face went from white to red, humiliation mixing with panic. You set me up. No, Emma said calmly. You did this to yourself. I just gave you the opportunity to show me who you really are. And you did. Perfectly. She looked at me. We'd planned this moment down to the second. The reveal. The confrontation. The truth. Thank you, Sarah, for showing me what I needed to see. I nodded, stood up from the table, walked over to stand beside Emma, united, unbreakable. Daniel looked between us, finally understanding, finally realizing he'd been played. This whole thing was fake? You were never trying to help me? I was trying to help her, I said, pointing to Emma. She deserved to know if you were worth fighting for. If you'd actually changed. If there was any part of you that really loved her. And now she knows, Emma finished. You don't love me, you never did. You love the idea of me, the convenience, the comfort. But the moment someone else gives you attention, you take it. Whether it's a woman at your office or my best friend at a restaurant. He tried one last time, desperation making him bold. Emma, please, I made a mistake. Again, but I can change. I swear. Emma shook her head. No, Daniel. You can't, and I'm done waiting for you to try. She pulled something out of her purse. The engagement ring he'd given her on that beach 2 years ago, the symbol of forever that had turned out to mean nothing. She set it on the table in front of him. The small diamond caught the dim restaurant light. For a moment, it sparkled. Beautiful. Meaningless. Goodbye, Daniel. And then we walked out together, leaving him sitting there alone with his excuses, his lies, and a ring that no longer meant anything. The restaurant was quiet. A few people had noticed the confrontation. Whispers followed us out. But we didn't care. We'd gotten what we came for. Outside, in the cool night air, Emma finally let herself breathe. Really breathe. Like she'd been holding it in for weeks and could finally release it. She turned to me, and for the first time since that night she'd shown up at my door, she smiled. A real smile. We did it. We did, I agreed. How do you feel? She thought about it for a moment. Free. The aftermath was exactly what we'd hoped for. Word spread quickly about what happened at the restaurant. Emma didn't have to say anything. Other people did it for her, people who'd been there. People who'd heard the story. The gossip chain did its work beautifully. Daniel tried to control the narrative at first, posted something online about being set up. About how Emma and I had manipulated him, about how he was the real victim. But nobody bought it, because too many people had seen him desperately chasing Emma for weeks. Too many people knew he'd cheated. Too many people had watched him make promise after promise that he'd never kept. And now they'd heard that he'd kissed his ex-fiancé's best friend while supposedly trying to win her back. You can't spin that story in your favor. No matter how hard you try, his friends started distancing themselves. The girl from his office that he'd cheated with apparently found out about the restaurant incident and publicly called him out on social media. She'd had no idea he was trying to get back with Emma. She thought they were actually done. She felt used. Betrayed. Karma was working overtime. Emma's family, who had been devastated when she called off the wedding, now supported her completely. Her mother, who'd initially begged her to give Daniel another chance, called to apologize. She'd seen his true character. She was proud of Emma for walking away. At work, Emma found herself surrounded by support. Colleagues who'd watched her struggle for weeks now celebrated her strength. They'd seen her come in with red eyes, watched her lose weight from stress, noticed her constantly checking her phone, hoping for some miracle explanation that would make everything okay. Now they saw her standing tall. Confident, moving forward. The wedding vendors were understanding. Most of them refunded deposits without question once they heard what happened. The venue manager, a kind older woman who'd been in the business for 30 years, told Emma she'd seen this story play out too many times. She was glad Emma had found out before the wedding, not after. Emma canceled the honeymoon, got most of her money back. Used some of it to book a solo trip to Italy. Something she'd always wanted to do, but Daniel had never been interested in. She was going to spend 2 weeks in Tuscany, eating pasta, drinking wine, and remembering who she was before she'd made her life revolve around someone else. As for me, I went back to my normal life. Work, friends, evenings with wine and bad television, but I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Not just for Emma, but for every woman who'd ever been made to feel like they weren't enough, like they were the problem, like they deserved to be betrayed. About a month after the restaurant incident, Daniel tried to reach out one more time. Not to Emma, to me. He sent a long text message, angry, bitter, blaming me for ruining his life. He called me manipulative, said I'd taken advantage of his vulnerability. Said I'd destroyed his relationship with Emma and his reputation for what? For some twisted revenge plot? I read the message, considered responding, then decided against it, because men like Daniel never learn. They never take responsibility. They always find someone else to blame. The woman who caught them, the friend who exposed them, the universe for being unfair. They never look in the mirror and admit the simple truth that they're the problem. So I blocked his number, deleted the message, and moved on with my life. Emma and I grew even closer after everything. The experience had bonded us in a way that normal friendship never could. We'd been through battle together. We'd stood up to someone who'd hurt her. We'd won. Some people might say what we did was wrong, that we manipulated him, that we played games instead of just walking away. But here's what I know. Sometimes walking away isn't enough. Sometimes people need to see consequences. They need to understand that their actions hurt real people. That betrayal has a cost. And sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting someone back. It's about showing them exactly who they are. Holding up a mirror, making them face the truth. Did Daniel suffer? Yes. But not because we destroyed his life. Because he destroyed it himself. We just made sure he couldn't hide from what he'd done, couldn't rewrite history, couldn't play the victim. Emma could have stayed with him, could have forgiven him, could have convinced herself that love meant accepting his betrayal and hoping he'd change. But she didn't. She chose herself, her dignity, her future. And that's the real victory, not the confrontation at the restaurant, not the public humiliation, but Emma finding her strength, realizing she deserved better, walking away from someone who would never value her the way she deserved to be valued. 3 months after everything happened, Emma and I met for lunch at our favorite cafe, the same one we'd been going to for years. Long before Daniel, back when we were just two friends trying to figure out life. She looked different, healthier, happier. There was a lightness about her that had been missing for a long time. Not just since the cheating, but maybe even before. Like she'd been carrying weight she didn't realize was there until she finally put it down. We ordered our usual, iced coffee for me, green tea for her, sandwiches we'd share because neither of us could ever finish a whole one. "So," I said, diving right in like I always did, "tell me about Italy." Her face lit up. She pulled out her phone, showing me picture after picture, rolling hills covered in vineyards, ancient buildings glowing in golden sunset light, markets full of fresh produce and handmade pasta. Her standing in front of the Colosseum, smiling so wide it looked like her face might split in half. "It was perfect," she said. "I ate too much, drank too much wine, spent entire days just wandering around getting lost, and I didn't think about him once. Well, maybe once, but only to be grateful I wasn't wasting my time trying to make a relationship work with someone who didn't deserve me." "That's growth," I said, grinning. "How does it feel to be completely free?" She thought about it, wrapping her hands around her tea. "Scary sometimes. I mean, I'd planned my whole future around him, around us. And now that future doesn't exist anymore, I had to rebuild everything from scratch. But," she continued, smiling, "it's also exciting. I get to decide what I want now, not what we want. Just me. And I'm realizing I want things I'd given up on. Or things I never let myself want because they didn't fit into the life we were building." "Like what?" "Like traveling alone. Like taking that pottery class I always thought about but never signed up for because Daniel thought it was a waste of money. Like maybe moving to a different city, starting fresh somewhere nobody knows my story. Where I'm just Emma, not Emma who got cheated on. Not Emma who called off her wedding, just Emma." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You're going to do amazing things. I know it," she squeezed back. "I already am, and I have you to thank for it." I shook my head. "You don't owe me anything. You would have been fine without me, maybe. Eventually. But you made it easier. You reminded me that I wasn't crazy for being angry, that I deserved better. That I had power in this situation even when I felt powerless." "That's what best friends do," I said simply. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, just existing together. Then Emma's expression shifted, became more serious. "Can I ask you something?" "Always. Do you think he learned anything? Do you think any of this actually changed him?" I considered the question carefully. It was something I'd thought about too, whether our plan had actually taught Daniel anything or just made him better at hiding who he really was. Honestly, I don't know. Part of me hopes he did, that he looked at himself and realized he needed to change, that he'd hurt people and needed to be better. And the other part of you? The other part thinks men like Daniel rarely change, they just get smarter. They learn what not to say, what not to do. But deep down, they stay the same. Selfish. Entitled. Always looking for the next thing that makes them feel good without caring who it hurts. Emma nodded slowly. "That's what I think too. And you know what? I don't care anymore. Whether he changes or not isn't my problem. He's not my problem. I'm done carrying the weight of his choices." "Good," I said firmly. "Because you deserve to be free of all of it. The pain. The questions. The what-ifs. You deserve to just move forward. I am, she said. I really am. And it feels incredible. We finished our lunch, talked about lighter things. Work, family. The new show we were both binge-watching. Plans for the weekend. When we finally left, walking out into the bright afternoon sunlight, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not just for Emma, but for myself, too. Because this whole experience had taught me something important. That friendship isn't just about being there for the good times, it's about showing up for the hard times. The messy times. The times when someone you love is breaking and you have to help them put the pieces back together. And sometimes, it's about being willing to do things that might seem extreme, might seem manipulative, might make other people judge you. But when you love someone, when you truly care about their well-being, you do what needs to be done. You protect them. You stand beside them. You help them see the truth even when it hurts. That's what real friendship looks like. Not perfect, not always pretty, but real, honest, unbreakable. 6 months later, Emma called me late one evening. I was already in bed, reading a book, when my phone lit up with her name. "Hey," I answered. "What's up? I have news." Her voice was excited, nervous. "Happy. Good news or bad news?" "Good news." "Really good news." I sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. "Tell me." "I met someone." My heart jumped. "What? When? Where? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" She laughed. That beautiful, genuine laugh I'd missed during all those dark months. I wanted to make sure it was real first. That I wasn't just jumping into something because I was lonely or trying to prove I was over Daniel. And it's real. His name is Marcus. He works at the bookstore I've been going to since I got back from Italy. We started talking about books. Then we started meeting for coffee, then dinner. And Sarah, he's wonderful, he's kind. He listens, he makes me laugh. And he doesn't play games, he's just honest and real and present. I could hear the happiness in her voice, the hope, the excitement. And I felt tears spring to my eyes, happy tears. "I'm so happy for you," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. "I wanted you to meet him. If that's okay. I know it's soon, but you're important to me. And if he's going to be in my life, I want him to know the people I love." "Of course," I said immediately. "When? Dinner this weekend?" "Nothing fancy, just the three of us. I'll be there." That Saturday, I met Emma and Marcus at a casual Italian restaurant. The kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles, cozy, warm, comfortable. Marcus was exactly how Emma had described him, tall, with kind eyes and an easy smile. He stood when I arrived, shook my hand firmly, thanked me for coming. We sat down and started talking. It was easy, natural. He was genuinely interested in getting to know me. Asked questions about my work, my life, my friendship with Emma. He listened when I answered, didn't interrupt, didn't try to one-up my stories. And the way he looked at Emma. God, the way he looked at her, like she was the only person in the room. Like everything she said mattered, like he couldn't believe his luck that she'd chosen to spend time with him. It was everything Daniel had never been. At one point, Emma excused herself to use the restroom. It was just Marcus and me at the table. He took a sip of his wine, then looked at me seriously. Emma told me what happened, with her ex. I tensed slightly. She did? Not everything, just the important parts. That he cheated. That you helped her through it. That you were there when she needed someone. I nodded, unsure where this was going. I wanted to thank you, he continued, for being the kind of friend who shows up, who protects the people they love. Emma's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her too. I know you're probably protective, probably skeptical of any guy who comes into her life now. And I get it. I would be too if I were you. You're right. I am, I admitted. He smiled. Not offended, just understanding. Good. She deserves people who look out for her, who make sure she's being treated right. I hope I can prove to you that my intentions are good. That I'm not going to hurt her. I studied him for a moment, looking for any sign of deception. Any red flag, any hint that he was just another Daniel wearing a better disguise. But all I saw was sincerity, honesty. A man who genuinely cared about Emma and wanted to earn the trust of the people who loved her. "Just so we're clear," I said, keeping my voice light but my meaning serious, "if you ever do hurt her, you'll have me to deal with. And I'm much more creative than you might think," he laughed. "Noted." "And fair." Emma came back to the table, looking between us with slight concern. "Everything okay?" "Perfect," Marcus said, reaching for her hand. Sarah and I were just getting to know each other. The rest of dinner was lovely, easy conversation. Good food, laughter. The kind of evening where time passes without you noticing because you're just enjoying the moment. When we finally left, Emma hugged me tight. Whispered in my ear, "So, what do you think?" I pulled back and looked her in the eyes. "I think he's great. I think he treats you the way you deserve to be treated. And I think you should hold on to this one." She beamed. "I plan to." We said our goodbyes. I watched them walk away together, his arm around her shoulders, her head leaning against his chest. They looked happy. Comfortable, right? And I realized something important. This is what healing looks like. Not forgetting the pain, not pretending it never happened, but moving forward despite it, taking the lessons, growing stronger, and eventually opening your heart again when someone worthy comes along. Emma had done that. She'd survived betrayal. She'd fought through the pain. She'd learned her value. And now she was choosing differently, choosing better. Choosing someone who saw her worth and treasured it. That's the real ending to our story. Not revenge, not confrontation, not even justice, but growth, healing, and ultimately, happiness. A year after the restaurant incident, Emma and I were sitting in my living room, the same room where she'd shown up crying, broken, lost. But now, everything was different. She was moving in with Marcus. They'd found an apartment together, a beautiful place with big windows and hardwood floors. She'd been packing all week, going through her things, deciding what to keep and what to let go. She'd found her old wedding binder, the one she'd spent months filling with ideas, venue options, flower arrangements, dress designs. All the dreams she'd built around a future that never happened. She'd brought it to show me. We sat together, flipping through the pages, looking at all those plans that had turned to dust. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked quietly. "Calling off the wedding? Walking away?" She didn't even hesitate. "Not for a single second. That wedding would have been beautiful. The pictures would have been perfect. But the marriage? That would have been a disaster. I would have spent years trying to make it work with someone who didn't value me, who didn't respect me, who thought love was something you could take for granted. And now I'm with someone who shows me every day that I made the right choice. Someone who makes me feel safe, seen, valued. Someone I can trust completely because he's proven, again and again, that he's worthy of that trust." She closed the binder and set it aside. "I'm throwing this away. I don't need it anymore. That version of my life doesn't exist, and I'm grateful for that." "Me too," I said. "I'm grateful you found your strength, that you didn't settle, that you chose yourself." "I had help," she said, taking my hand. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. It just might have taken longer." She smiled. "Maybe. But I'm glad I didn't have to do it alone." We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, then she looked at me with that mischievous expression I knew so well. "So when are you going to let someone into your life? You've been so focused on helping me that you've completely ignored your own love life." I laughed. "I'm fine. I don't need someone to complete me." "I know you don't need someone. But wouldn't it be nice to want someone, to let someone in?" "Maybe," I admitted. "Someday, when the right person comes along." "They will," she said confidently. "And when they do, I'll be right there beside you, making sure they're good enough. Making sure they treat you the way you deserve, just like you did for me." "Deal." We hugged. One of those long, tight hugs that says more than words ever could. A hug that acknowledged everything we'd been through together. Everything we'd survived. Everything we'd learned. When she finally left that night, taking the wedding binder with her to throw away, I sat alone in my living room, thinking about everything that had happened. Everything that had changed. Emma had arrived broken. She was leaving whole. She'd arrived lost. She was leaving with direction. She'd arrived questioning her worth. She was leaving knowing it completely. And yeah, maybe our methods weren't conventional. Maybe some people would judge what we did, call it manipulation, call it revenge, but I called it survival. I called it protection. I called it standing up for someone you love when they don't have the strength to stand up for themselves. Because that's what the world needs more of, people who show up. People who fight for what's right, people who refuse to let the people they love be mistreated without consequence. Daniel had thought he could betray Emma and face no real consequences, had thought he could apologize his way out of it, had thought he could manipulate his way back into her life. But he was wrong. Because he underestimated two things: Emma's strength and the power of true friendship. In the end, we didn't destroy his life. We just made sure he couldn't destroy hers. And that's a kind of justice I'll always be proud of. 2 years after everything happened, I got a message from Emma. She was engaged. Marcus had proposed on a hiking trail at sunset, just the two of them, no big production, just a simple question and a ring he'd designed himself based on conversations they'd had about what she loved. She sent me a picture. Her hand extended, showing off a beautiful, delicate ring, her face glowing with happiness. Marcus beside her, looking at her like she was his entire world. The wedding was small, intimate, just close family and friends. Nothing like the elaborate production she'd planned with Daniel. She asked me to be her maid of honor. Of course I said yes. The ceremony was beautiful. Simple. Real. Emma wrote her own vows, talked about finding love when she'd stopped looking for it, about learning what real partnership meant, about being grateful for second chances and new beginnings. Marcus cried when she said her vows, happy tears that he didn't bother to hide. When they kissed, when everyone cheered, when they walked back down the aisle as husband and wife, I felt overwhelming joy. Not just for Emma, but for the journey that had brought her here. She'd survived betrayal. She'd found her strength. She'd learned her worth, and she'd opened her heart again to someone who truly deserved it. That's the ending she deserved, not the one Daniel would have given her, but the one she found for herself. At the reception, during the speeches, Emma asked if she could say something. She stood up, holding Marcus's hand, and looked around at all the people who loved them. I want to thank everyone for being here today, for celebrating this moment with us, but especially I want to thank my best friend Sarah. She looked at me, her eyes shining with tears. 2 years ago, I was in the darkest place of my life. I thought my world was ending. I thought I'd never be happy again, but Sarah showed up for me. She stood by me. She helped me see my own strength when I couldn't see it myself. And because of her, I was able to walk away from something that would have destroyed me, which made space for something beautiful to find me instead. She raised her glass. To friendship, to strength, to second chances, and to the people who love us enough to fight for us when we can't fight for ourselves. Everyone raised their glasses. To friendship, I wiped away tears, happy tears, proud tears. After the speeches, after the dancing, after most of the guests had left, Emma and I stood outside under the stars. Just the two of us, like we'd done so many times before. I meant what I said, she told me. I wouldn't be here without you. Yes, you would. You're stronger than you think, maybe now, but back then, I was ready to forgive him, to take him back, to convince myself that love meant accepting betrayal. But you didn't, because you showed me I didn't have to. You showed me what real love and loyalty look like. And you helped me see that I deserved better. I hugged her, my best friend, my sister in every way that mattered. You do deserve better. You always have, and I'm so glad you found it. Me too, she said. Me too. We stood there for a while longer, not talking, just existing together. Two people who'd been through hell and made it out the other side. Scarred maybe, changed, definitely, but stronger. Eventually, Marcus came out to find her. It was time for them to leave, to start their honeymoon, to begin their life together. Emma hugged me one more time. I love you, you know that, right? I know. I love you too. And thank you for everything. For being exactly the friend I needed when I needed you most. Always, I promised, always. I watched them drive away. Watched the car disappear down the road, heading toward their future. Their happiness. Their forever. And I felt at peace. Because this is what it's all about. Not the revenge, not the confrontation, not even the justice, but this. Watching someone you love find happiness, knowing you played a part in helping them get there. Knowing that when they needed you most, you showed up. That's the real victory. The real ending, the real point of it all. Sometimes people ask me if I regret what we did, if I think we went too far, if I think the plan was too manipulative, too calculated, too harsh. And my answer is always the same. No, I don't regret a single thing. Because here's what people don't understand. Emma wasn't just my best friend. She was family. And when someone hurts your family, you don't just let it slide. You don't just accept their apology and move on. You make sure they understand what they did. You make sure there are consequences. Daniel had betrayed Emma in the cruelest way possible. He'd made her question herself, her worth, her lovability. He'd made her feel like she wasn't enough, like she was the problem. That kind of damage doesn't heal with a simple apology. It requires truth, clarity, closure, and that's what we gave Emma. We showed her beyond any shadow of doubt that Daniel hadn't changed, that he would never change. That she wasn't walking away from her soulmate. She was walking away from someone who would have made her miserable for the rest of her life. Some people might call that revenge. I call it protection. Because if we hadn't done what we did, Emma might have taken him back. She might have convinced herself that everyone makes mistakes. That love means forgiveness. That she should give him another chance. And then what? They'd get married. He'd cheat again, maybe with another coworker. Maybe with someone at the gym, maybe with a neighbor. And Emma would be trapped, stuck in a marriage with someone who didn't respect her, who didn't value her, who saw her as convenient rather than precious. We saved her from that future. We gave her the evidence she needed to walk away with her head held high, with no regrets, with no what-ifs haunting her in the middle of the night. That's not revenge. That's love. That's friendship. That's doing whatever it takes to protect someone you care about. And yeah, Daniel suffered. His reputation took a hit. His friends judged him. His family was disappointed. He had to face the consequences of his actions in a very public way. But you know what? He deserved it. He deserved every bit of discomfort he felt. Because actions have consequences. Betrayal has a cost. And maybe, just maybe, the next time he's in a relationship, he'll think twice before throwing it away for temporary excitement. Although honestly, I doubt it. Men like Daniel rarely learn. They just get better at hiding. But that's not our problem anymore. He's not our problem. We did what we needed to do. We got Emma out. We got her safe. We helped her heal. The rest is up to him, whether he changes or not. Whether he becomes a better person or not. Whether he ever understands what he lost. None of that matters to us, because Emma has moved on. She's happy. She's thriving. She's with someone who treats her the way she deserves to be treated, and that's all that matters. That's the only ending that counts. Years have passed now since that night Emma showed up at my door, broken and crying. Years since the restaurant confrontation. Years since the healing. Years since the wedding. Emma and Marcus have a life now. A real one. They bought a house. Adopted a dog. Talk about having kids someday. They travel together, laugh together. Build a future together based on trust and respect and genuine love. She's happy. Truly, deeply happy. In a way she never was with Daniel. And me, I'm still here. Still working. Still living my life. Still showing up for the people I love. I never told many people about what we did. About the plan, the setup, the confrontation. It's not something you broadcast. Not something you brag about. But I don't hide from it either. Because I'm not ashamed. I did what I thought was right. What I thought was necessary. And given the same circumstances, I'd do it all over again. That's what friendship means to me, not just being there for the good times. Not just celebrating successes and sharing laughs, but being willing to get your hands dirty. To do the hard things, to fight the battles that need fighting. Even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable. Even if people judge you for it. Because at the end of the day, you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know you stood up for what mattered. That you protected the people you love. That you didn't let injustice go unchallenged. Emma taught me that too. She taught me that healing isn't linear. That strength comes in many forms. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something everyone expects you to fight for. She walked away from Daniel, from the wedding, from the life she'd planned, from the person she thought she was supposed to be. And in doing so, she found herself, found her voice, found her power. That's the real lesson in all of this. Not that revenge is sweet, not that cheaters always get what they deserve, but that you always have a choice. You can stay in situations that hurt you. You can accept less than you deserve. You can convince yourself that suffering is the same as loving. Or you can choose yourself, your dignity, your future, your happiness. Emma chose herself, and because she did, she got everything she ever wanted. Just not in the way she expected. Sometimes life works out like that. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the best thing, because it forces you to change direction, to reconsider, to rebuild. Emma rebuilt, and what she built is more beautiful, more real, more solid than anything she had before. That's the ending I'm proud of. That's the story I'll always remember. Not the betrayal, not the pain, not even the confrontation, but the healing, the growth, the happiness that came after. Because that's what matters, not how you fall, but how you rise, not what happens to you, but what you choose to do about it, not the darkness, but the light you find on the other side. Emma found her light, and I was honored to help her find it. That's friendship. That's loyalty. That's love. And that's a story worth telling. I still see Emma regularly. We still have our coffee dates, our girls' nights, our long phone calls about everything and nothing, but now she talks about different things. Happy things, future things. Dreams she's building with Marcus, plans they're making together, the life they're creating. Sometimes, late at night when we've had too much wine and the conversation turns philosophical, we talk about Daniel. About what happened, about how different her life could have been. She always says the same thing: I dodged a bullet, and I always agree. Because she did. She dodged a lifetime of pain, disappointment, and betrayal. She dodged years of questioning herself, wondering if she was enough, watching him pull away over and over again. She dodged becoming a shell of herself, losing her spark, settling for crumbs of affection and calling it love. Instead, she found real love, real partnership, real happiness, and that's worth every uncomfortable moment of our plan, every manipulation, every carefully calculated move. Because we didn't do it to hurt Daniel, we did it to save Emma. And we did save her, from a future that would have destroyed her, from a person who would never appreciate her, from a life half lived in the shadow of someone else's selfishness. That's not revenge, that's rescue. And I'd do it again, 1,000 times over. For Emma. For any friend who needed me. For anyone who deserved better and couldn't see it yet. Because that's what we're here for. To lift each other up, to protect each other. To fight for each other when the world tries to tear us down. Emma fought for herself. I just stood beside her while she did, and in the end, she won. She got her happy ending, the real one. Not the fairy tale she'd imagined with Daniel, but the genuine, beautiful, messy, perfect reality she built with Marcus. That's the story I'll carry with me always. Not as a tale of revenge, but as a reminder of what's possible when you choose courage over comfort, when you choose truth over convenience, when you choose yourself over settling. Emma chose herself. And look at what she gained. Everything. She gained everything. And that's the lesson I hope anyone reading this takes away. You don't owe anyone your pain. You don't owe anyone your future. You don't owe anyone forgiveness they haven't earned. You owe yourself happiness, dignity, respect, love that lifts you up instead of tearing you down. And if you're lucky enough to have friends who will fight beside you, who will scheme and plan and stand up for you when you're too hurt to stand up for yourself, hold on to them. Treasure them, because that kind of friendship is rare and precious and worth more than gold. Emma and I, we're sisters now. Not by blood, but by choice. By battles fought. By wounds healed. By victories celebrated. She showed up at my door broken, and we helped her become whole again. That's a bond that can't be broken. A connection forged in fire and tears, and ultimately, triumph. That's our story. That's our truth, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it. Because, in the end, love won, friendship won, truth won, and Emma got the life she deserved. The one she would have missed if she'd stayed with someone who couldn't see her worth. Now she's with someone who sees it clearly, who celebrates it daily, who treats her like the precious gift she is. And that makes every moment of our plan, every risk we took, every uncomfortable confrontation completely worth it. Emma is happy. And that's all that ever mattered. That's the real revenge. Not making someone suffer, but living well. Being happy, thriving. Emma is thriving, and Daniel? He's just a footnote now, a lesson learned. A bullet dodged, a mistake that led to something better. He doesn't get to be the main character in her story anymore. He's barely a side note. A chapter that ended so the real story could begin. And that real story? It's beautiful. It's everything she deserved. Everything she fought for, everything we helped her find. That's the ending. Not perfect, but real. Not revenge, but justice. Not bitterness, but healing. Emma arrived hurt and sobbing. She left strong and smiling. And that transformation, that journey from broken to whole, is the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. That's what friendship can do. That's what love looks like. That's what it means to show up for someone when they need you most. And I'll carry that with me forever. The knowledge that when it mattered, when my best friend needed me, I was there. I helped. I fought. I stood beside her until she could stand on her own again. That's the story. That's the truth. And that's the lesson I hope stays with anyone who hears it. You deserve better. You deserve happiness. You deserve someone who sees your worth and treasures it, and if you can't see that for yourself yet, find someone who can. Find a friend who will remind you, who will fight for you, who will help you find your strength when you've lost it, because that's how we survive. Not alone, but together, not by accepting less, but by demanding more. Not by settling, but by choosing ourselves. Emma chose herself. And look at what she found. Everything. Absolutely everything. That's not revenge. That's victory. That's healing. That's love. And that's how this story ends. Not with bitterness, but with hope. Not with pain, but with joy. Not with regret, but with gratitude for lessons learned and futures reclaimed. Emma got her happy ending. The real one. The one she deserved all along. And I got to witness it. I got to be part of it. And that's the greatest gift of all.